The great chamber of the Galactic Council was alive with tension. Rows of alien delegates sat in curved seats, their voices a mix of whispers and low growls. The hall itself was a marvel of construction, a dome of glass and alloy that floated in orbit above a blue gas giant. The council chamber was supposed to be a place of reason and order, yet now it felt like a storm about to break. At the center of the chamber stood the High Speaker, a tall figure with pale silver skin and a flowing robe that shimmered under the artificial lights. His long hands spread out as he called for silence. The echoes of his voice carried power through the chamber. Members of the council, we meet today because of a dangerous matter. A warning must be given. A boundary must not be crossed. This is not for negotiation. This is survival. The whispers faded. Dozens of alien eyes, some glowing, some shifting like liquid, turned toward him. The High Speaker's voice lowered. We speak of the species called humanity. They are new to the stars. They have not yet spread far. But they are not weak. They are not like others we have tamed. Their history is one of endless wars. Their minds are sharpened by survival. Their nature is to resist. If provoked, they will not bow. They will strike back with fury. For a moment, silence ruled the chamber. Then a laugh broke it. The sound came from the seats of the Zorath Empire. Their representative, Lord Koresh, leaned forward. His skin was scaled, his eyes bright gold. His teeth flashed as he sneered, "High Speaker, you ask us to fear. Primitives. They have only a handful of colonies. Their fleets are small. Their weapons are crude. They are nothing but a fragile branch of flesh clinging to one small world. You would have us tremble because they know how to fight each other. Pathetic." A ripple of agreement came from some of the other empires. Lord Koresh rose to his full height, towering above his assistants. The Zorath Empire will not be told to show restraint. We take what we wish. If humanity stands in our path, they will fall. If they resist, they will be crushed. They should feel honored that we even bother to notice them. He turned in a slow circle, addressing the chamber. I say, we stop speaking as though they are some phantom threat. They are prey. And prey has only one purpose, to feed the strong. Gasps and murmurs followed his words. Some delegates nodded. Others hissed in disapproval. The High Speaker raised a long hand for silence. Lord Koresh, you speak with arrogance. You do not understand what you risk. Humanity is not prey. They are different. They are patient. They are watching even now. I tell you all again, do not provoke them, do not test them. The cost will be greater than you imagine. But Koresh only smirked. Then let us see if your words are true. We are not afraid of the humans. If they are foolish enough to resist, their blood will stain the stars. The Council's warning is nothing but fear dressed as wisdom. He sat down, his tail coiling behind him. His allies from nearby empires clapped their claws and fists in support. The High Speaker's eyes darkened. He felt the weight of countless years of history pressing on him. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had seen species wiped from existence because of mistakes. He knew what was coming, yet the chamber was no longer listening. The seeds of arrogance had taken root. Across the hall, a smaller figure shifted uneasily. This was the human observer. He had no seat on the council, no vote, no voice that carried weight. Humanity was too new, too small in the eyes of the galaxy. Yet he had been sent to watch. His name was Elias Ward. He sat with calm posture, but inside his thoughts burned. He had heard the warning given on his behalf. He had heard the laughter that followed. He had seen the golden eyes of Koresh filled with hunger. Elias knew what would happen next. Humanity had always known this moment would come. They had studied the council. They had studied the old empires, and they had prepared. Elias leaned back in his seat and whispered into a small device hidden under his sleeve. They will move soon. Begin silent protocols. The Council cannot. Stop them. Only we can. The device clicked once in reply. In the center of the chamber, debate raged on. Voices rose. Accusations flew. Some demanded sanctions on humanity. Others called for preemptive war. A few pleaded for peace, but their words were drowned out by louder, more aggressive shouts. The high speaker finally slammed a staff against the floor, its sound ringing like thunder. This session is ended. The warning is given. May the stars have mercy on us all. The chamber lights dimmed as the session ended. Delegates rose, robes and armor swaying as they filed out. Some avoided the gaze of Elias. Others looked at him with contempt or curiosity. Lord Koresh passed near the human observer and sneered again. You sit quietly, little human. Do you think your silence makes you strong? It only makes you weak. We will come for your worlds. We will see if you can fight as well as you boast. Elias did not answer. He only looked into the golden eyes of the Zorath Lord with a calm expression. Inside, however, his mind was steel. When Koresh moved away, Elias whispered again into his hidden device. Mark his empire. They will be the first to fall. Beyond the chamber, the stars stretched vast and cold. Fleets moved silently, carrying soldiers and weapons across the Black Sea. Somewhere deep under the oceans of Earth, engines hummed as weapons never revealed to the galaxy were prepared. Humanity was quiet, but not because they were weak. They were quiet because patience was their weapon. The Council had given its warning. The arrogant had ignored it. The countdown to war had already begun. The galaxy did not yet understand what was coming. But soon, very soon, they would. The stars were quiet. Out in the black, a single human warship drifted along the edge of Zorath territory. From the outside, it looked unremarkable. Its hull was coated with matte black plating that swallowed the starlight. It moved with such precision that even advanced alien sensors failed to detect it. To the galaxy, it was as if the ship did not exist. Inside the command deck, the crew worked in silence. The atmosphere was calm, but beneath the calm ran a current of tension. Every officer, every soldier knew the stakes. Captain Mara Cade sat in her chair, her eyes fixed on the forward display. She was a veteran of Earth's wars, a woman forged in fire long before humanity took to the stars. Her voice was steady as she spoke to her crew. Report. A young officer at the sensor station turned. Enemy fleet movement detected. Zorath vessels are gathering near the Collis sector. 30 ships, possibly more. They are staging for a raid. Mara nodded slowly. Her jaw tightened, but she showed no fear. Do they know we are here? Negative. Cloak holding. They are blind. Mara rose from her chair. Her boots echoed lightly against the steel floor as she walked toward the display. Dozens of glowing red shapes appeared on the hologram. Each red shape marked a Zorath warship. They were gathering. Like predators circling prey, Mara folded her arms. They think we are weak. They think we will not answer. They are wrong. She turned to her comm officer. Record everything. Transmit to Earth Command under Black Protocol. Yes, Captain. The comm lights flickered as hidden channels opened. The message would not travel across ordinary networks. It would move. In silence, carried by encrypted bursts that bounced between relay drones hidden in deep space. No alien would ever see it. Mara returned to her chair and sat with slow, deliberate calm. She spoke not just to her crew, but to the void itself. Let them strike first. Let the galaxy believe we cower. Then we will answer. Her words carried weight. The crew felt it. Their eyes hardened. Their movements grew sharper. Humanity was waiting, but it was not waiting in fear. It was waiting like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Far away on Earth, preparations were already underway. Deep under the oceans, hidden facilities rumbled with activity. Submerged hangars released fleets of warships that rose slowly through the dark waters before piercing into the skies. Railguns were tested, stealth drives calibrated, soldiers drilled in silence. The world looked peaceful from orbit, but beneath the surface, Earth was a fortress awakening. On Mars, vast foundries burned with red fire. The factories forged weapons that the galaxy had never seen, cannons that could hurl tungsten slugs at a fraction of light speed, armor that could shrug off plasma fire, engines that could burn across the stars with frightening speed. Even the colonies, scattered and fragile as they seemed, were not unprepared. Each had hidden bunkers. Each had secret stockpiles of weapons and supplies. Colonists who looked like farmers and miners were trained with rifles and drills. If war came, they would not fall easily. Humanity was patient, but patience did not mean weakness. Patience meant readiness. Back aboard Captain Mara's ship, silence stretched across the deck. The Zorath fleet began to move. Their ships broke formation and accelerated toward the nearest human colony. The young sensor officer looked up, his face pale. They are heading for the colony at Aris Prime. Estimated time to contact, 2 days. Mara's eyes narrowed. She felt the weight of those lives on her shoulders. Thousands of men, women, and children lived on Aris Prime. They were settlers, dreamers, workers. They were the heart of humanity's expansion. And now they were targets. Mara's voice was calm, but it carried a steel edge. "Keep recording. Do not interfere. Not yet." The officer swallowed but nodded. "Yes, Captain." Hours passed. The crew watched in silence as the Zorath ships advanced. Each moment was like a drumbeat. In the dark, the humans recorded everything, every maneuver, every burst of comms, every engine flare. Nothing was missed. At last, the moment came. The Zorath fleet reached Aris Prime. Without warning, their weapons lit the skies. Plasma beams cut across orbit, railfire slammed into defense satellites. The colony's shields flared and broke under the first barrage. On the planet below, alarms screamed. Colonists rushed for bunkers. Families grabbed children and ran through. Dust-filled streets as buildings shook and burned. Emergency beacons flashed, calling for help. The Council did nothing. The alien empires did nothing. Only the humans watched. On Mara's bridge, the crew stared at the display. Their jaws clenched, their fists tightened, but no one spoke out of turn. They obeyed the order. They watched. Mara sat still, her eyes like stone. Inside, her blood boiled. Every scream she saw, every flare of fire on Aris Prime was carved into her memory. The comm officer whispered, "Transmission complete. Earth Command has received the feed." Mara leaned forward. "Then let it be known. Humanity has been struck. Humanity has bled. Activate silent recall. We return to the fold." The crew obeyed. The ship shifted course, vanishing into the black with no trace. The Zorath fleet never knew they had been watched. Far away on Earth, the message arrived. Generals and admirals gathered in shadowed chambers. They saw the images of Aris Prime burning. They heard the screams. They saw the arrogance of the Zorath. No one spoke for a long time. Then the Supreme Admiral stood. His voice was calm, heavy, and final. "The time of silence is over. Retribution protocol is active. Across the hidden networks of humanity, the code spread. From Earth to Mars, from Mars to the colonies, from colonies to fleets hidden in the black." The message was short. It needed no explanation. Retaliation protocol activated. Back on Aris Prime, the colony lay broken. Smoke and fire filled the sky. The Zorath commander broadcast a message to the galaxy, boasting of his victory. His face was sharp with pride as he declared, "This is what becomes of those who dare stand against us. Humanity is weak. Their colonies are nothing. Their resistance is a joke." The galaxy watched. Some believed him, some laughed, some pitied humanity, but others were afraid. In their hearts, they remembered the warning of the High Speaker. They remembered his words, "Do not provoke them, do not test them." And now it was too late. The galaxy thought humanity was silent because it was weak. Soon they would learn the truth. Humanity was silent because it was preparing. Humanity was patient because it was watching. And now, with the blood of Aris Prime crying out, humanity would rise. The countdown had ended. The war had begun. The colony ship drifted like a broken ghost through the endless dark. Its hull was torn open by plasma fire. Sparks and smoke trailed from its wounds as it tumbled slowly through space. Inside, the cries of survivors echoed through ruined corridors. Some begged for help, some screamed in fear, some whispered prayers. Into the void, the Zorath fleet had left nothing but wreckage in its path. The orbit of Aris Prime was filled with debris. Civilian transports, cargo haulers, and defense craft were scattered in pieces across the stars. Their broken shells reflected the light of the system's sun, glowing faintly like dying embers. From the surface of Aris Prime, the flames of war rose high. Cities lay in ruins. Towers had collapsed. The ground shook from bombardments. Smoke blackened the skies. The once green fields were now fields of ash. Families huddled in underground bunkers, their faces pale, their breaths tight with fear. Everywhere the sound of loss filled the air. Humanity had been struck. Humanity had bled. Yet across the galaxy, the council chambers argued without end. Some voices shouted for peace. Some demanded punishment for the Zorath. Others turned away, saying it was not their concern. No decision came. No help arrived. The galaxy watched the suffering of Aris Prime. Many believed it was the end of humanity's dreams, that the rising species from Earth had met its limit, that they would fold under the weight of the Zorath Empire. But deep within humanity's hidden networks, the opposite was true. The attack had not broken them, it had awakened them. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Atlantic, the Supreme Admiral stood before a vast screen. Around him sat generals, admirals, and leaders from every colony. The chamber was silent as the last broadcast of Aris Prime played. Screams echoed, explosions flared. Then the screen went black. The Admiral turned to his people. His voice was steady and sharp. "The blood of our people cries out. Aris Prime burns. The Zorath believe we are weak. They believe they can strike and escape. They are wrong. From this moment forward we rise. Retaliation protocol is active. Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity strikes back." A low rumble filled the chamber as fists slammed against tables and officers shouted, in agreement. The silence of years was broken. Across the colonies, hidden orders were unlocked. Ships that had slept under oceans, buried in deserts, or hidden in caves, rose into the skies. Stealth cruisers ignited engines that had not burned in decades. Orbital platforms powered up railguns that hummed with deadly energy. Soldiers poured from barracks, their eyes hard with resolve. On Mars, the foundries roared to life at double pace. Factories thundered as machines forged weapons at a speed never seen before. Rail slugs, the size of skyscrapers, were loaded into silos. Armor plating was stacked high. Drones swarmed assembly lines, building ships that would soon fill the black. The galaxy had thought humanity was slow and weak. They did not see that every day of silence was a day of preparation. Back in Zorath space, their commander celebrated his victory. Lord Koresh stood on the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by his officers. His golden eyes gleamed with pride as he raised a clawed hand. "Behold, the humans fall like insects. Their colony is shattered. Their ships are ash." The council warned us, but their fear was nothing. "Humanity is no threat to the Zorath Empire," his officers roared with approval. The bridge filled with the sound of claws striking armor in triumph. Koresh's grin widened. Send word across the Empire. Let every world know. Humanity is broken. They will never rise against us. They are prey, and prey serves the strong. The message spread quickly across the galaxy. Many empires laughed. Some mocked the humans openly. Others dismissed them as a species that had overreached. Few saw the danger growing quietly in the dark, but not all were blind. In the chambers of the High Speaker, shadows pressed close. He stood alone, his silver skin glimmering faintly. His eyes were heavy with sorrow. He had warned them all. He had spoken the truth. Now the truth had arrived. He whispered into the silence. They do not understand. They have drawn blood. Humanity will rise with vengeance. They will not stop. They will not rest. The galaxy will know the cost of arrogance. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with certainty. He had seen this pattern before. Every empire that mocked Earth would learn the same lesson. Out in the black, humanity's fleets began to move. Cloaked ships spread through Zorath space, recording every movement, every ship, every weak point. Scouts tracked supply lines, fuel depots, and command centers. Data streamed back to Earth. Targets were chosen. Plans formed. In one hidden warship, Captain Mara Cade watched the ruins of Aris Prime from a distance. Her fists were clenched so tight, her knuckles were white. Her sensor officer whispered, "Survivors are still transmitting distress calls. The enemy is ignoring them." Mara's jaw tightened. She knew what the enemy thought. They believed leaving survivors alive would spread fear. They believed broken humans would tell the galaxy of their weakness. But Mara knew the truth. Those survivors would become fire. Their stories would become the fuel of vengeance. She spoke quietly, but her voice carried the weight of iron. Record every scream. Record every cry. When the time comes, we will make them hear it back. And when we strike, it will not be whispers. It will be thunder. The crew answered in silence, but their eyes blazed. The hours passed. The wreckage of Aris Prime continued to drift. One colony ship, barely alive, sent a final signal into the void. Its captain, bleeding and broken, whispered a message before the light faded. To Earth Command, we held as long as we could. We are dying. Tell them to fight. Do not let us be forgotten. The signal cut. The ship's reactor failed. A burst of light marked its end. Across the void, the signal reached Earth. The chamber of the Supreme Admiral fell into silence as the words played. No one moved. No one breathed. When the final words echoed, the Admiral rose. His voice was cold as steel. They will not be forgotten. They will be avenged. Mark the Zorath fleet. Prepare the hunters. War has begun. And so it was. Humanity's silence ended. The galaxy would no longer see a quiet species asking for peace. They would see fire and iron. They would see retribution. The stars themselves seemed to shiver as if they knew the blood of humanity had changed everything. For the first time in the long history of the galaxy, the prey had become the predator. The night skies above Earth lit up with fire. Deep under the oceans, hidden hangars split open and massive warships surged upward. Their black hulls broke through the waves like sea beasts rising from the deep. As they climbed higher, engines roared to life, pushing them into the stratosphere. In the deserts of Africa, ancient canyons cracked open as armored carriers rolled out. Missile platforms rose. From underground silos, their long barrels pointing toward the stars, soldiers in black armor lined up in perfect formations, their helmets reflecting the glow of floodlights. Their faces were hidden, but their eyes behind the visors burned with resolve. On Mars, the surface shook as shipyards launched entire fleets. The red world glowed as foundries poured molten steel into molds. shaping the next wave of humanity's war machines. Titans of iron rose from assembly lines, their weapons gleaming under harsh light. Engineers worked without rest. Commanders inspected each vessel with sharp, silent eyes. In the colony worlds, alarms rang. Civilians gathered in shelters while local militias armed themselves. Men and women who had once been farmers, miners, and builders now strapped rifles to their backs. They had trained for this day. They were ready. Humanity's colonies were not soft targets. They were fortresses waiting to awaken. The call had gone out. Retaliation protocol was active. Every hidden factory, every secret dock, every training. Ground that had been kept in silence now roared alive, and at the heart of it all, in the underground command chamber beneath the Atlantic, the Supreme Admiral gave his order. His voice carried through every channel, reaching every ship, every soldier, every commander. Rise, defenders of Earth! The blood of Aris Prime cries out, the enemy believes we are weak. Show them the truth. Show them the steel of humanity. The time of silence is over. The time of vengeance begins. The chamber shook with the sound of voices shouting as one. Humanity was no longer waiting. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was rising. Captain Mara Cade stood on the deck of her ship as the orders arrived. She had witnessed the destruction of Aris Prime. She had seen the screams, the burning cities, the shattered ships. Now her crew stood ready at her side. The orders came in a single line of text on the display. Engage Retribution. Deploy the Defenders. Mara turned to her officers. Her voice was steady but sharp with fire. We are no longer shadows. We are the blade. The Zorath think they know war. They have never seen us fight. Not as one. Not as defenders. Today they will learn, the crew answered with hard nods. The ship shuddered as its engines roared to full power, cloak disengaged. For the first time in years, the ship revealed itself to the stars. Its hull gleamed black and silver, its weapons glowing. With lethal power, other ships joined it. One by one, human warships uncloaked across the sector. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers and frigates appeared like ghosts shedding their masks. Where once there had been silence, now there was thunder. The Zorath patrols spotted them at once. Alarms screamed across enemy decks. Officers shouted, crews scrambled, but it was too late. Humanity had already chosen its moment. Mara raised her hand. Open fire! Railguns lit the black. Tungsten slugs the size of trucks hurled forward. Faster than the eye could follow. They smashed into Zorath ships before shields could rise. Hulls shattered, fires erupted. Explosions tore through the void. The first Zorath patrol was gone in minutes. Mara lowered her hand. Transmit to Earth Command. First strike successful. Targets neutralized. Defenders have risen. The message carried across the network. One by one, across the galaxy, hidden human fleets began to strike. Supply depots exploded, command stations burned, patrols vanished. The Zorath Empire, so arrogant and sure, suddenly found itself bleeding from 1,000 cuts. But the rise of the Defenders was not only in ships and weapons, it was in the hearts of the people. On Earth, in the great cities, citizens watched the broadcasts. They saw images of the fleets rising, of soldiers marching, of weapons firing into the void. Fear turned into fury. Grief turned into fire. They cheered for their defenders. They shouted for vengeance. On Mars, miners who had once swung drills now loaded ammunition into crates. Families painted the names of lost loved ones on shells and missiles. Children watched from shelters, their eyes filled not with fear but with pride. On the colonies, survivors of Aris Prime sent their messages. Broken voices, filled with pain, but also with resolve. We will not be forgotten. Fight for us. Fight for our children. Make them pay. These words spread across human space like wildfire. Every soldier who heard them clenched their fists tighter. Every pilot who heard them pressed harder on their controls. Every commander who heard them vowed not to stop until victory was carved into the stars. The defenders had risen, not just in fleets and weapons, but in spirit. Humanity was united as never before. The galaxy watched in shock. News spread quickly. Reports came in from every corner. Zorath ships destroyed, outposts in flames, fleets vanishing without a trace. At first, some dismissed it as lies. But the evidence grew too heavy to deny. Humanity was striking back. Humanity was not broken. Humanity was rising. In the council chambers, panic filled the air. Delegates shouted, pointing claws and fingers at one another. Some demanded immediate peace with Earth. Some demanded more war. Others stayed silent, their eyes filled with fear. The High Speaker rose, his voice cut through the chaos. You were warned. You all were warned. Humanity was patient. Humanity was silent. You called them weak. Now they rise. Now you will see what they are. But still, arrogance lingered. Some empires believed they could still crush humanity. They did not understand. Humanity was not just fighting a war. Humanity was fighting for survival, and a species that fights for survival does not stop. Back in Zorath space, Lord Koresh sat in his chamber, his golden eyes narrowed. Reports filled his screens, losses, ambushes, fleets gone missing. His claws scraped against the metal armrest. He hissed to his advisors, "This is nothing but tricks. They strike from shadows. They cannot face us in open battle." But even as he spoke, alarms screamed across his flagship. Enemy ships had entered orbit. Human ships, defenders. Koresh rose, his tail whipping behind him. So they come at last. Good, let them come. We will crush them as we crushed Aris Prime. But deep in his chest, behind the mask of pride, he felt the first stirrings of doubt. Above him, in the cold black of space, the defenders moved with purpose. Squadrons of fighters swarmed like knives through the dark. Carriers launched wave after wave of strike craft. Battleships fired rail slugs that glowed with white-hot fury. The void itself shook with the thunder of war. Humanity was not only fighting. Humanity was winning, and yet every victory came at a price. On the decks of human warships, soldiers bled, pilots died in fire, ships burned. The cost of vengeance was heavy, but no one faltered. No one turned back, because this was not just a war of survival. This was a war of justice, a war to show the galaxy the truth. Humanity had been mocked. Humanity had been ignored. Humanity had been struck. Now humanity had risen. The defenders were here, and they would not stop until the stars themselves bore witness to their retribution. The black of space was silent, but inside the human fleet there was fire. Engines glowed. Weapons hummed with power. Soldiers strapped on armor. Pilots slid into cockpits and checked their controls with steady hands. Across every deck, the same thought burned in every mind. This was the moment. The first strike was here. On the bridge of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Elias Ward stood tall. His eyes scanned the display before him. Red icons marked the Zorath fleet ahead. Dozens of warships patrolled the system, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, each armed, with the firepower to crush colonies. They moved with arrogance, shields lowered, weapons idle. They believed themselves safe. Ward's voice was calm, but inside his blood surged. They think we will not come. They think we hide. Today, they learn the truth. The officers around him nodded. Their hands were tight on controls, their faces sharp with resolve. They had trained for this moment. They had waited in silence. Now they were ready. Ward raised his hand. Cloak, disengage, prepare weapons. Fire on my mark. The fleet shimmered into view. Dozens of human warships appeared at once, their black hulls reflecting the faint light of the distant star. They had come from nothing, ghosts made real. On the Zorath ships, alarms screamed, crews shouted, officers scrambled to battle stations. But they were too slow. Ward's hand cut down. Fire! The void erupted with thunder. Railguns fired, slinging massive slugs at a fraction of light speed. Each slug tore through shields and armor as if they were paper. The first Zorath destroyer shattered in a storm of fire. Pieces of its hull spun away, glowing red as they burned. Missile barrages followed, their trails streaking across the black. Warheads slammed into enemy carriers, breaking decks and igniting fuel stores. Explosions spread in chain reactions. Flames leapt into the void. Fighters launched from human carriers, small and fast. They moved like knives darting through enemy lines, dropping bombs and cutting through defenses. The Zorath fleet tried to answer. Plasma beams cut through the dark. Torpedoes streaked forward. But the humans moved with precision. Their ships rolled and twisted, dodging fire. Their armor held where alien weapons struck. One human cruiser, the Iron Dawn, took a heavy plasma hit to the side. The hull groaned, alarms screamed, but the crew held their ground. They fired back, rail slugs slamming into the Zorath cruiser that had struck them. The alien ship tore apart in silence, its crew lost in fire. Ward stood unmoving, his eyes locked. On the display, "No mercy, push forward, break their line." Human ships surged ahead. They struck with ruthless precision. Every target had been chosen long before. The battle began. Fuel depots, ammunition carriers, command ships, each one destroyed in sequence, leaving the Zorath fleet crippled. On the bridge of the enemy flagship, Lord Karesh watched in shock. His golden eyes widened as reports filled. His ears, ships gone, carriers burning, fleets collapsing. He slammed his clawed hand against the armrest. "Fight back, hold the line, they are only humans." But his officers looked at him with fear. For the first time, the Zorath did not see prey. They saw predators. The battle raged for hours. Human ships darted in and out, striking, vanishing and striking again. Zorath crews fought hard, but they were unprepared for the speed, the tactics, the fury of humanity. One by one, their ships fell. One by one, their defenses collapsed. The void filled with burning wreckage. Finally, silence fell. The last Zorath cruiser split apart, its reactor exploding in a blinding light. The battlefield was empty of enemies. Only wreckage remained. The first strike was complete. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Ward looked across the deck. His crew stared at the display in awe. Dozens of enemy ships destroyed, human losses minimal. It was a victory beyond hope. Ward's voice was calm, but it carried a weight that echoed in every heart. "Transmit to Earth. The first strike is complete. The Zorath fleet is broken. Humanity stands." The comm officer sent the signal. Across the galaxy the message spread. Colonies cheered. Mars roared. Earth stood in pride. The defenders had not only risen, they had won. But for the survivors of the Zorath, the day was one of terror. Escape pods floated through the wreckage. Alien soldiers stared out at the black with horror in their eyes. Their empire had told them humanity was weak, that humans were nothing. But they had seen the truth. One Zorath officer, bleeding and broken, whispered into his comms before the signal faded. "They are not weak, they are death." The message reached the Zorath capital. It spread like fire across their empire. Fear grew in the hearts of those who had once laughed. In the council chambers, chaos returned. Delegates shouted at one another, their voices filled with panic. They destroyed an entire fleet in one battle. The humans should not have this power. They warned us, we did not listen. The High Speaker stood once more, his voice cut through the noise like a blade. "You see now, the first strike is only the beginning. Humanity has awakened. You laughed at the warning. Now you see the truth, and the truth will not be silenced." On Earth, families gathered in homes to watch the broadcasts. Survivors of Aris Prime wept as they saw the victory. Soldiers carried the names of the fallen into battle, painted on their armor, carved into their weapons. Children raised their fists in pride. This was more than a victory, it was a promise. Humanity would not stop. Humanity would not rest. Doseum. First strike was a message to the galaxy. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was a storm, and the storm had only begun. But deep in the black, Admiral Ward knew this was only the first step. He stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the stars. We have won the first battle, but the war has just begun. The Zorath will come again. The Council will move against us. The galaxy will not forgive this. We must be ready. His officers nodded. Their faces were grim, but their eyes held fire. They had seen what humanity could do. They would do it again. Ward spoke one final line, his voice like iron. The first strike is ours. The next belongs to history. Let it be written in fire. And with that, the fleet turned, engines burning, ready for the next battle. The stars stretched ahead, waiting. The war for humanity's future had begun in blood, and it would end in fire. The council chamber shook with anger. Voices crashed against one another like waves against stone. Every delegate shouted at once. Some demanded answers, some screamed for war, others begged for peace. The chamber, vast and glowing with crystal light, had always been a place of order. Now it was chaos. Screens showed the burning wreckage of the Zorath fleet. Human ships moved like shadows through the dark, tearing apart warships that had once ruled the stars. The sight was burned into every mind. At the center stood the High Speaker. His silver skin shimmered faintly as he raised his hand. His voice cut through the noise with cold precision. You have seen the truth. Humanity has struck. Their first blow has broken the Zorath fleet. The balance has shifted. The galaxy will never be the same. But the chamber erupted again. A delegate from the Tarian clans pounded the table with a heavy fist. The humans warned us. The council warned the Zorath. They ignored it. Now we all pay the price. Humanity will not stop. A voice from the serpent-like Keth hissed across the room. Then we must stop them. If we allow humanity to grow, they will spread like fire. They will turn their weapons on all of us. We cannot let prey become predators. At once, another voice rose, sharp and defiant. It came from the small but sharp-eyed Lithari representative. You speak of stopping them, but who here can? The Zorath failed. Their fleet was crushed. Who among you has the strength to face such fury? Silence followed for a breath. It was true. The Zorath were one of the strongest empires in the galaxy. They had fleets, soldiers, weapons that made others tremble. Yet they had fallen in one strike. If the Zorath could fall, who was safe? The Zorath delegate, scarred and trembling, rose from his seat. His golden armor was scratched, his face pale with shame. His voice shook with rage. They struck without warning. They ambushed us. Cowards, thieves. They hide in the dark. Humanity cannot win a war of strength. They will fall. The chamber hissed with disbelief. The evidence was clear. The wreckage of his fleet was scattered across the stars. The humans had not hidden. They had struck with fire and precision. The Lithari delegate laughed bitterly. Do you lie to yourself, or do you believe your own words? You lost. Humanity broke you. Admit it. The Zorath slammed his clawed hand against the table. You dare mock us. The Zorath Empire is eternal. This was one battle. We will crush them. The High Speaker's voice rose again, steady and sharp. You speak of crushing them, but tell me, how will you do this? Where will you strike? Humanity hides its strength. Humanity waits in silence until it is ready. They do not speak, they do not boast. They strike, and when they strike, worlds burn. The chamber shifted uneasily. The Tarian delegate leaned forward. His eyes glowed faintly. under the chamber lights. I fought beside humans once before the council. They are relentless. They do not stop. You burn their homes and they rise stronger. You kill their families and they come back with vengeance. They are unlike any species I have seen. They do not break. The Keth delegate hissed again, louder, this time. Then we must unite before it is too late. If we do not move now, they will grow too strong. Their weapons will spread. Their fleets will expand. The galaxy will be theirs. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Fear rippled across. The delegates. For centuries, the Council had ruled with balance. Each empire had its place. Each world had its role. Humanity had been a small voice at the edge of the galaxy. Now they threatened the balance. The High Speaker watched the fear grow. He felt the weight of his warning pressing upon him. He had told them this would come. He had begged them to prepare. Now it was too late. He spoke again, his tone filled with iron. You speak of fear. But understand this. Humanity does not yet strike at the galaxy. They strike only at the Zorath. Retribution drives them. If we interfere, if we raise arms against them, we will all burn. Mark my words. The chamber split at once. Some shouted in agreement. Yes, leave them. Let the Zorath and humanity destroy one another. Others screamed with fury. No! If humanity wins, they will come for us next. We must stand together now. The fracture grew deeper. Meanwhile, in the shadows beyond the chamber, spies whispered. Every empire had ears in the council halls. Messages flew back to capitals. Leaders heard the chaos, the fear, the division. Some saw opportunity. Others saw danger. On the Zorath homeworld, the Emperor roared with rage as the reports reached him. His throne chamber shook as his claws tore deep into the stone beside him. Destroyed. My fleet destroyed by humans. I will not allow this. I will not let prey humiliate us. Prepare every ship, forge every weapon, call every soldier. We will drown humanity in fire. His court bowed, though many trembled. The Zorath had been wounded. Their pride was shattered. They would not stop until vengeance was theirs. But in secret, some of his advisors whispered to one another. They had seen the recordings. They had seen the fury of the humans. They feared that war with Earth would not end in victory, but in ruin. Back in the council chamber, the argument reached its peak. The Keth delegate rose high, his scaled body coiling in anger. If the council will not act, the Keth will. We will not wait for humanity to grow stronger. We will strike now. The Lithari answered, voice sharp as steel. Strike and you sign your own death. Humanity will tear you apart as they did the Zorath. Do you seek glory or do you seek annihilation? The chamber roared again. Alliances shifted. Old enemies found themselves in agreement. Old friends turned against each other. Fear ruled every voice. The High Speaker watched with sorrow. He saw what was coming. The council was breaking. He spoke one last time. His words rang like thunder. Listen to me. The galaxy stands at the edge of fire. Humanity has awakened, and they will not stop until their dead are avenged. If we unite against them, the fire will consume us all. If we stay divided, the fire will spread world by world until nothing remains. This is the truth you refuse to see. The council fractures. And when it breaks, nothing will save us. But no one listened. The shouting grew louder. Accusations flew. Threats filled the air. The chamber of order had become a battlefield of words. The council was no longer one. Outside, the stars waited. Humanity's fleets moved in silence, preparing for the next strike. The Zorath licked their wounds and sharpened their claws. The council fell deeper into chaos, and across the galaxy, whispers spread. The humans had shattered the Zorath. The humans had broken the balance. The humans had become the storm. The council was fractured, the galaxy trembled, and the war had only begun. The stars were silent, but humanity moved in their shadows. The first strike had broken the Zorath fleet. The Council had fractured. Now the Defenders turned to the next phase of war. Vengeance was no longer a dream. It was a plan written in fire. From hidden bases carved into asteroids, stealth ships launched without sound. Their hulls absorbed light. Their engines burned cold. They drifted through the black like ghosts. No scanner caught them. No patrol saw them. They passed unseen into enemy space. On one of these ships, Captain Mara Cade stood in the command chamber. Her face was hard, her eyes sharp. She had survived Aris Prime. She had seen the ruins with her own eyes. Every order she gave carried the weight of the dead. Her crew waited for her command. Their hands hovered above controls. Their hearts beat fast, but their eyes were steady. Mara spoke in a low voice. "Target locked. Zorath supply convoy ahead. 3 transports, 1 escort. We strike fast. Leave nothing." Her officers nodded. The ship drifted closer. Through the view screen, the convoy came into view. Massive transports, each carrying weapons, fuel and food for the Zorath armies. Their escort cruiser moved lazily, unaware of the danger. Mara's hand cut the air. "Fire!" Rail slugs streaked from the shadows. The escort cruiser exploded in a flash of light before it could even raise its shields. The transports panicked, engines roaring as they tried to scatter. But the humans were faster. Missiles hit the first transport. Fire spread across its hull. The second transport broke apart as rail slugs tore it open. The last tried to flee, but fighters swarmed and cut it down. The battle lasted less than a minute. The convoy was gone. Humanity left nothing but burning wreckage. Mara's ship vanished back into the dark, cloaked once more. The crew did not cheer. They sat in silence, their faces grim. This was vengeance, but it was also war. They all knew the road ahead would be darker still. Across the galaxy, Zorath fleets burned, convoys destroyed, outposts erased, supply lines shattered. Humanity struck not with open armies, but with shadows. They moved unseen, and when they struck, the Zorath bled. The Empire reeled. Worlds trembled. Soldiers whispered in fear. Commanders barked orders, but their voices shook. They had once thought themselves untouchable. Now every ship felt hunted. Every fleet felt preyed upon. Lord Koresh raged on his flagship. He tore apart the command table with his claws as reports flooded in. His golden eyes burned with hate. "Find them, hunt them. I will not be mocked by prey. Send scouts to every system, double the patrols, triple the fleets. If humanity hides, then burn every shadow they hide in." But his orders spread fear more than control. His officers obeyed, but their hearts were shaken. They had seen the wreckage. They had seen the truth. The prey had become the predator. On Earth, the defenders watched carefully. Every strike was calculated. Every blow was chosen to weaken the Zorath without exposing the full power of humanity. In the war room beneath the Atlantic, Admiral Elias Ward studied the maps. Red lines marked Zorath fleets. Blue marks showed human shadows moving silently through enemy space. Each strike shifted the balance. Each strike spread fear. Ward spoke to his generals. "The Zorath are bleeding. Their fleets are stretched thin. Their supply lines are breaking. Soon their empire will fracture." A general leaned forward. His voice was low. "And when it does, the Council will turn its eyes on us. They will not allow humanity to grow unchecked." Ward nodded. "Yes, that day will come. But until then, we strike. We avenge the fallen. We make the Zorath pay." The room filled with silence. Every officer knew what was at stake. They had chosen the path of vengeance. There was no turning back. Meanwhile, whispers spread through the galaxy. Traders carried tales of human ships appearing from nowhere. Convoys gone, fleets lost, Zorath worlds cut off from supplies. The stories grew with every telling. Some called the humans demons. Others called them shadows. Many feared them more than the Zorath. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy spoke not of the great empires, but of humanity. On distant worlds, small species long crushed by the Zorath began to stir. They had seen the fear in their master's eyes. They had heard the whispers of human vengeance. Some began to rise. Small rebellions sparked. Fires spread in the dark. Humanity had not only struck the Zorath, they had lit a fire across the stars, but vengeance came at a cost. In the hidden hangars of Mars, soldiers carried body bags from returning ships. Every strike carried risk. Every mission took lives. Families wept as names were read aloud. The war was not clean. It was blood and pain. On one transport, Mara Cade walked the rows of fallen soldiers. She stopped at each one, whispering their names. Her crew watched in silence. She spoke with a voice that trembled with sorrow but carried iron. "You are not forgotten. You are vengeance, and vengeance burns on." The crew answered as one. Their voices were steady. "We are vengeance." In the council chamber, the fracture grew deeper. Reports of human victories filled the room. The Zorath demanded war. The Keth supported them, hissing with anger. But the Lithari and the Tarians warned against it. The High Speaker stood once more. His voice filled the chamber. "You see now what humanity is. You see their fire. If you join the Zorath, you will share their fate. If you fight them, you will bleed as they bleed. You cannot stop them, not now." But many refused to listen. Pride blinded them. Fear ruled them. The council fractured further. Alliances broke. Threats filled the air. The chamber of unity had become a chamber of war. On the Zorath homeworld, the Emperor sat in silence. His claws tapped against the throne. His eyes glowed with rage, but deep within them was fear. He had seen empires rise and fall. He knew the signs. Humanity was not a small fire. Humanity was a storm. He whispered to himself, a voice no one else heard. "If we do not crush them now, they will consume us." And so he gave his command, "Summon the Legion. Every world will burn if they hide humans. Every ally will be punished if they aid them. We will drown this fire in blood." The order spread across the empire. Worlds trembled. Armies moved. The war deepened. In the black of space, Admiral Ward received the reports. The Zorath were moving everything. Fleets gathered. Worlds armed. The storm was coming. Ward stood in silence, his hands clasped behind his back. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "Then let them come. We are ready. The shadows are ours. The vengeance is ours. And when they arrive, they will learn the truth of humanity." His officers answered with one voice, "We are the defenders. We do not fall." The fleet moved forward, vanishing once more into the shadows of space, and the stars waited, silent and cold, as the storm of vengeance grew. The galaxy held its breath. For months, humanity had struck from the shadows, convoys destroyed, fleets shattered, outposts erased. The Zorath Empire bled in silence, but now silence was over. The storm had come. On the edge of Zorath space, the human fleet gathered. Hundreds of warships filled the black. Their engines glowed like fire. Their weapons hummed with power. Fighters swarmed around them like blades of steel. It was the largest force humanity had ever unleashed. On the flagship Resolute, Admiral Elias Ward stood at the center of the command deck. His eyes were hard, his voice steady. "This is the final strike. No more shadows, no more whispers. Today we break the Zorath. Today we deliver retribution for Aris Prime, for every colony that burned, for every life lost. Humanity rises." The deck roared in answer. Officers struck the tables. Soldiers raised their fists. Pilots shouted their oath. Every heart burned with the same fire. Vengeance had brought them here. Retribution would carry them through. Across the galaxy, the Zorath gathered their full strength. The Emperor had summoned the Legion. Fleets stretched across the stars. Warships filled the skies of their homeworld. Their soldiers armed themselves with blades and plasma rifles. Their commanders shouted promises of victory. On the flagship of Lord Koresh, banners of war hung high. His golden eyes blazed with fury. He spoke to his captains with venom. Humanity believes itself strong. Humanity believes it can defy us. Today we end this lie. Today we crush them. They will beg for mercy, and we will give none. The galaxy will remember who rules the stars. His fleet moved like a wall of fire. Thousands of ships, bristling with weapons, shields glowing bright. They were the pride of the Zorath. They were the hammer of the Empire. And they moved to meet the humans. The two fleets saw each other across the black. Silence stretched for a single moment. Then Admiral Ward gave the command, "Fire!" The void exploded with thunder. Railguns roared. Missiles streaked through the dark. Drones swarmed forward, armed with plasma charges. The human fleet unleashed everything at once. The Zorath answered with fury. Plasma beams cut across the stars. Torpedoes burned through the black. Fighters poured from carriers like a flood. The battle began. Ships tore apart. Explosions lit the void like suns. Cruisers broke into pieces. Carriers burned. Fighters clashed in swarms, their trails cutting across space like blades of light. On the Iron Dawn, alarms screamed as plasma fire ripped across the hull. The captain shouted orders. "Hold shields! Return fire!" Rail slugs answered, tearing a Zorath destroyer in half. The ship groaned, but it held. On the Resolute, Ward's voice carried across the deck. "Push forward! Break their center! Do not stop!" Human ships surged ahead. They moved with precision, every strike chosen, every blow calculated. They cut through the Zorath line like a knife through flesh. But the Zorath did not break easily. Their numbers were vast. Their rage was endless. They struck back with all their strength. Human ships burned. Pilots screamed as their fighters shattered. The void filled with wreckage. The battle was chaos, fire, smoke, death. But humanity pressed on. In the heart of the battle, Captain Mara Cade led her squadron of fighters. Her voice was sharp in the comms. "Stay tight. Hit the carriers. Cut their wings." Her fighters dived through enemy swarms. Plasma beams grazed their hulls. Explosions shook the void around them. Mara locked onto a carrier and fired. Missiles streaked forward. The carrier's shields failed. Fire consumed its decks. Her squadron cheered, but Mara's voice cut them short. "No cheering! Keep moving! Every second counts!" She turned sharply, cutting through the chaos. Her eyes burned with fury. Aris Prime lived in her every breath. She would not stop. Hours passed. The battle raged without end. Both sides bled. Both sides burned. But slowly the tide shifted. Human tactics cut through Zorath numbers. Every strike crippled their supply ships. Every blow shattered their command vessels. The Empire fought with pride, but pride was not enough. On his flagship, Lord Koresh roared. In rage, his ship shook under the barrage. Officers screamed as fire spread across the deck. He shouted, spittle flying from his mouth. "We are Zorath. We do not fall to prey. Fight. Fight to the last." But his words were drowned by the sound of explosions. A rail slug tore through the hull. His flagship split apart in a burst of fire. Lord Koresh was gone. The Zorath fleet faltered. On the Resolute, Admiral Ward saw the shift. His eyes narrowed. His voice thundered. "Their commander is dead. Strike now. End this." Human ships surged forward with renewed fire. Fighters cut through what remained of the Zorath wings. Cruisers blasted holes through the enemy line. Carriers burned one after another. The Zorath tried to hold. They fought with desperation, but their center collapsed. Their flanks shattered. Their ships fled in panic. Humanity did not stop. One by one, the Zorath fleets fell. One by one, their warships burned. The empire that had once ruled the stars now trembled before the fury of Earth. When the last Zorath ship fell silent, the void was filled with wreckage. Fires burned in the black. Bodies drifted through the silence. The stars glowed cold above the battlefield. Admiral Ward stood in silence. His crew watched the display. They had won. The Zorath fleet was gone. Humanity stood. Ward spoke quietly, but his words carried across the fleet. This is the price of arrogance. This is the cost of blood. Retribution is complete. Across. The comms, voices answered. Soldiers cheered. Pilots wept. Colonies rejoiced. Humanity had done the impossible. But the story was not only victory. On Mars, bells tolled for the fallen. Families wept as names were read aloud. The cost had been heavy, thousands lost, ships gone, heroes fallen. Humanity had won, but the scars would remain forever. On Earth, the leaders stood before their people. The Supreme Admiral raised his voice. We have avenged the dead. We have defended our kind. But the war is not over. The Council will move against us. The galaxy will not forgive our strength. We must remain ready. We must remain united. Humanity is strong only together. The people roared in answer. Their voices filled the world. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was no longer weak. Humanity was the storm. In the council chamber, silence reigned. Delegates sat pale and trembling. They had seen the recordings. They had watched the Zorath fall. The Lithari delegate spoke first, her voice quiet, but sharp. The Zorath are broken. Humanity stands. The balance is gone. The Keth delegate hissed with fear. If they can destroy the Zorath, they can destroy us. The High Speaker stood, his silver skin glowing under the lights. His voice rang across the chamber. I warned you. Humanity rises. They will not stop. They will not kneel. You feared them, and you were right to fear them. Now you must choose. Stand with them or stand against them. But know this. If you stand against them, you will fall as the Zorath fell. The chamber was silent. Fear gripped every heart. Janusiu. Galaxy had changed forever. Back on the Resolute, Admiral Ward looked out at the stars. His hands were clasped behind his back. His voice was quiet, meant only for himself. They thought us weak. They thought us prey. Now they know the truth. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. Humanity delivers retribution. The stars stretched before him, endless and cold. But now they no longer belonged to the empires of old. Now they belonged to humanity. The defenders had risen. The war was far from over, but the first great battle was won. The galaxy would never be the same.